Welcome to everyone for joining us in this Community Council meeting for May 17th. As I've said before, we depend on citizen participation, and the more participation we have, the better, this organization runs and the more things we can accomplish. At this point, the agenda has been published, and I'd like to know if any people have any questions, any corrections to the agenda, any additions that you would like to make.
Would you like me to share the screen for the agenda, David, or?
Oh, sure. If you'd like to, sure.
Okay. Okay. Here we go. You should be able to see that now.
Okay. All right. And I'll ask again if anyone has any corrections or changes to the agenda, please, so indicate. Seeing no, is there someone there who, okay, hello? Okay, then seeing no objections, I will adopt the agenda. And has everyone had an opportunity to look at the minutes from last month's meeting, from our April meeting? And are there corrections or additions to the April minutes that anyone would like to bring to our attention? Let's see. Okay, seeing no changes, corrections, I'll adopt the minutes from April's meeting. At this point, let's see. From King County, we've got Bong Santo Domingo, who's our liaison with the unincorporated areas division of King County. Am I correct that that's a division? Okay, we'll call it that in any event. And do we have any other visitors from King County? Well, I do see and we have a speaker here, that's Lance Diskin, presenting on Dark Skies later. So welcome, Lance. And I don't see other off-island visitors, so it's good having participants from on the island. There are no motions that are up for a vote at this point. So I would like to move on to our committee and board updates. The first committee report I'd like would be from Adam Foster with the Active Transportation Committee.
Hi, this is Evie Horton. I'm speaking on Adam's behalf. Adam is not able to attend, but I can give that report.
Okay.
I've got 3 items. The Active Transportation Committee has not met since the last General Council meeting. Secondly, our next regular meeting will be occurring on June 1st. And finally, just an update that we have mailed letters to the county about the active transport facility feasibility study that was voted on at the previous meeting. So I guess that would be the April meeting.
Okay, good enough. And do we have a copy of that letter?
I don't know that you do. I couldn't say that with any certainty, but I would expect that it has been sent through the ether to you from Adam, our chair.
Okay. In the future, when we do have letters that go out, it's good to have those run by the board first before they go out from individual committees, just so that you know for the future. Okay.
I'll take note of that and share it with our committee, some of whom are here today. Hi, Jill.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. You're welcome.
And the Active Transportation Committee has been a very active committee, so thank you, folks. Next, we have Michaela Olivari to speak about the Communications Committee. Michaela?
Yeah, I'm here. So we had originally scheduled our first meeting, and it ended up being the same day as the Affordable Housing Committee meeting. And so there was just a few emails that went back and forth trying to find a right time and a day for us to meet. And for all those on the Communications Committee, the outreach team, I have an email going out tomorrow with a suggested meeting time based on the feedback that I got back from each person. So we will be setting up a meeting this next week. And we've been doing a lot of posting. We could still do more. There's still a lot more we could do, and definitely we will be working on coordinating so that every topic is blasted out as much as possible.
Okay. All right, thank you. And then I don't see Rita Schenk in attendance from the Affordable Housing Committee. Is there someone else here from the Affordable Housing Committee who wanted to give a brief report? Well, I could just say that, oh, go ahead.
Oh,
No, go ahead.
Oh, Kyle, did you?
I was going to acknowledge Tanya Roberts.
Okay. And is Tanya able to present a report about the committee? Okay, no? All right,
Tanya,
well, I could
Tanya,
just
you're,
say
you're
that.
still muted. You just got to click the little unmute button, little red button down at the bottom of your screen. Oh, you are in fact unmuted. Yeah. Seems like a problem with the microphone.
Okay. Well, I could just briefly say that I believe the Affordable Housing Committee has met twice now, and they're going to be reaching out more to the community. And there was talk at the committee meeting about addressing different topics, including affordable housing for renters, affordable housing for buyers, for homeowners, and also addressing the homeless population on the island. So this is a committee that could certainly use as much participation as we can muster. If you know anyone who might be interested in the Affordable Housing Committee, please get the word out, because it's an important topic on the island, and we want to reach out to all sectors on the island. We don't want this to be confined to a small group of people who have a particular viewpoint that's not shared by other folks. We essentially, our committees act as fact finders. They act as liaison to the committee, and so the more information, the more participation we can get in, the better. Dog Park Committee, is Michael Chomsky there?
Hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. So we met a couple of times, and the last time that I can recall this meeting, we got to talk to the Vashon Park District, which was quite informative. And we had some conversations about funding, which we have not been doing. But those conversations are quite present because in talking to the Park District and looking at what King County requirements are, it's pretty clear that moving forward with an off-leash dog park would require some type of supporting organization. Vashon Park District let us know that since 2016, they've had yearly requests for an off-leash dog park, and through a local nonprofit called Vashon Unleashed, it made it the farthest to getting a on-island off-leash dog park. But while it didn't succeed, there was no one root cause as to why it didn't. Although there are some themes as to why it didn't pick up steam. The dog park committee is looking to dissolve and take up the charter of what Vashon Unleashed started so many years ago. And we've been talking to them, and I'm excited to see that King County is here today. I'm curious what they have to say. That's pretty much my update.
Okay, and Michael, was there an attempt to communicate with King County Parks as opposed to Vashon Parks District?
Yes, though I met one person from King County Parks and got to speak to I forget his name, David, although I don't remember his last name. Got to speak to him this morning, but because I work, I only got to see him for a little bit. It was the same story that I heard in the entire conversation in a lot of the research that the team did, which was there were a lot of past efforts, there are failures, there's opportunities to find locations within King County, and they all have names that I can't remember. I figured the best way forward for this is obviously to work with King County. They seem to be very conversant about it and have clear requirements for what's necessary. They've also, at least in that conversation with David, he also let us know that the Vashon Park District is important and an important ally. And the people who worked with Vashon Unleashed also let us know that they are they have experiences that can help guide a path forward with King County to success.
Michael, you had indicated something about disbanding and reforming. What's that about?
There was some conversation over email saying that because the community council is not a nonprofit organization, that there's no funding or whatnot. And Vashon Unleashed already exists as a organization whose charter is to find and fund whatever site is necessary to pursue a path forward to success for an Unleashed park. And so when I was saying disbanding, it looks like this has been good for networking and finding the right people and the previous organizations that had the charter to look or to find an area on the island and pursue an avenue of success for an off-leash park.
Okay, and I should say, at present, we are a nonprofit, the Vashon Community Council. We are not yet a 501c3, and we've been holding off on fundraising until we achieve 501c3 status, just to make things easier. And, I don't know how that's going to affect the dog park committee, but in the past, we've had committees break off and form their own nonprofit organizations, such as Vashon Household had done before with our Affordable Housing Committee. Just keep in touch and let us know what your plans are.
Oh, absolutely. This has been a really positive experience and connecting with the community. And I was surprised to find out that every trail has an organization that looks over it, and that every every avenue for this off-leash dog park has been an ongoing discussion with people who are interested in keeping the island safe. And, and for the off-leash dog park group, we're looking for the right mix of a place for dogs to be and for the islanders to be happy.
Okay, well, thank you for your work so far. Yeah, thanks a lot. The next item would have been the Child Care Committee, but Molly Covite is out of town this evening and won't be able to present. So that brings us to the board, and let me see. Do we have a recent minutes from the last board meeting? Well, the board has been meeting regularly, and I believe we previously announced we now have a full board of 9 members. John Affolter and Michaela Olivieri are our newest board members. We have been trying to reach out to the various sectors of the island, and also coordinating it so that there's oversight for the various Vashon Island committees. I think that that's a pretty brief explanation of what the board's been up to. Would anyone else on the board like to contribute to that? Okay. Now, the new business for this evening concerns the choice of a community council logo. And thanks to the work of Diane Emerson and a few others, we have been able to, well, that's one of the things the board did, is it narrowed down our choice to 3 choices for a board logo. And Diane, did you want to give any kind of an explanation to start?
Sure, yes. We've been working on a logo for quite a while, and it has gone through a number of iterations. And there was a movement to get a logo going right away, but it became, Adam Day, who's with us tonight and is going to present one of the logos, suggested that we shouldn't just settle for a basic logo just to have one, that we should work on a logo that was so unique, so beautiful, so special that we could also use it for fundraising, that people would want to buy something, a mug or a cap or something with this logo on it. So we went back to work and worked on finding some logos that would fit that bill. And so tonight we get to share with you 3 logos that could work. And now it's time for the community to decide which of these 3 logos we should be using. So I am going to begin by, we'll have these 3 logos, and each logo is going to be shared with you. And then after all 3 logos are shared, we'll have 2 minutes each for each logo. Then you can, we'll answer your questions that you have in the chat. So we're going to start with the logo called Hands Holding Vashon. And I am going to share my screen and share that with you. And need to, this one. Okay. So there it is. Can you see that?
If you could make it a little bit larger, it might be good.
Oh, let's see if I can. I'm
okay.
not sure I can do that with my
no.
screen. I think that's about all I can do
Okay.
with that. Okay. So I would like for Camille to please talk about the origins of this logo.
Yeah, so I'll just make it really brief, tell a little story. I was talking to Diane about the logo, and we were kind of trying to come up with things that sort of represented the island, or kind of would unify, you know, people of all different walks of life represented on the council, which can be kind of hard to do. And one thing, you know, that because I kind of came up with this concept of hands holding Vashon, because I really feel like the thing that brings us all together is that, like, we all really care about the island, and about Vashon. And so that caring is sort of communicated through the hands holding Vashon. And also so my sister, so I had this idea, and I asked my sister to do a sketch because she's a visual artist and I'm not. And she did a really beautiful sketch, which we then gave to Creighton. What's Creighton's last name? I'm sorry.
Creighton Chamberlain.
And he basically was able to make it into a logo that could be, you know, produced over and over. And he made the hands blue and green, which I think is really, really relevant too, because those are also things that make the island special. It's our greenery and the blue water that surrounds us. So that's my 2 cents about the logo.
Okay, and we've just a few more seconds left on our 2 minutes, and so I would just like to read something that Creighton added as well. He says the font being used here is Alio. To celebrate the new council's return, he went with a font that came from a font foundry that's relatively new, 2013. It's a rounded edge slab serif that is comfortable and open. It's also from Lisbon, a city with strong maritime connection, and has also launched many ships. And I also want to show you the how it looks on a mug. And it is as a mug. So there we go. That's hands holding Vashon. Okay, and I'm going to move on to the next logo, which is the tree of hands. And this logo is relates to the fact that we have trees. This island is known for its trees, and it's something that struck me when I first came here about all the trees. And in many places you'll drive and you'll see some trees, but just beyond the trees you see a house or a farm or something. Not here. The trees are deep, and when you drive, it's trees and forest. So we wanted one of the logos to reflect that part of our island and all the people that are here, and the hands that is community combining with the trees. So that's what this logo represents. Now this logo is clip art. It isn't it's something that that's already been made, and we can use it if we wish. And here's what Creighton has to say. The font is Futura. It's a font that's warm, timeless, and intuitive. It was created in 1927, 6 years before the Community Council. It could have been an option for an original logo and still look like it was designed today. It's used a lot for ensuring clarity and legibility. And the leaves of the tree have flesh tones, and they're very diverse. And I'd like to just say a little bit about Creighton Chamberlain, who's helped us with all this. His family has moved out to Vashon about 2 years ago, and they bought a place over on Landers Road. The Community Council had been rebooted about a year after that, and it was exciting for him to see a new chapter beginning and to be here when that happened. He would love to continue to help the community out, and he does some volunteering for the tool library. We found through the time bank, which you're going to be hearing about in a little bit. And I would like to show you what this logo looks like on a mug. So there's the tree of hands on a mug. So that's the second logo. And now I'm going to stop sharing because
we couldn't hear
Okay.
you, Diane, but I'm going to assume you were passing it off to me.
I keep forgetting every time you stop sharing, it automatically mutes you. So here I'm talking away and I stop sharing and I'm muted now. So yes, so please, Adam, take it away.
All right. All right, so I'll try to do this quickly because I only have 2 minutes, so I won't read the whole Betty McDonald quote that I put down there. But this is the Point Robinson Lighthouse logo, and it was created by a friend and former coworker of my husband. Her name is Taylor Matson. She doesn't live on the island, but I reached out to her in October of last year and asked if she might consider designing something for our group. And she said yes. The background, so Point Robinson Lighthouse is, obviously one of the most ubiquitous photo representations of the island. And most visitors who come to Vashon visit the island, go to Point Robinson to check out the lighthouse, and all islanders recognize it. From a symbolic perspective, lighthouses represent providing help and guidance, and they mean hope and safety, safe haven, even in difficult times. And obviously, it's tied to our maritime heritage, I will call it, on the island. Some of the strengths of this design are that it's simple and welcoming, but it's also professional. Professional is not normally something I would describe Vashon as. It's too stuffy for us. But we are going to be representing our community to people who we do need to present a professional kind of tone with. It's easy to scale down and see on letterhead, on websites, and on flyers. It doesn't rely on a color for its design. So, removing it, making it black and white, or making it a color won't change the design. It's unique. There's only one island business that I could find that used the lighthouse, and no nonprofits use the lighthouse in their logos. It's easy to identify, as I said in the last slide. And so in terms of designs that I thought matched that kind of strength profile, I picked some island logos that I thought were really great and simple and neat, and conveyed kind of what they had to offer. And I picked these ones. I thought it fit in there nicely as a family. And then this is what it could look like on on merchandise, or a mug as the other ones have been displayed. And there's the representation up there at the top of it being either white or black, or really any color you might want it to be. The font is one that Taylor designed herself. She said it was tidy, but also had a lot of character, like our island. So I'm happy to take any questions. I think now that we're done with the presentation. So Diane, we'll let you take back over.
Okay, thank you very much, Adam. What a beautiful presentation of the Lighthouse logo. So here we are. We're not going to make a final vote tonight. We want to always give the whole community a chance to weigh in on these things. But what we can do is have a discussion about these logos, answer your questions about them, and see where we go from there. And at some point, I'm hoping that someone will make a motion to accept one of the logos, or maybe, and then we can have the actual vote at our next month's meeting. So we have a question from Melvin Mackey. If no logo receives a majority, do we eliminate the one with the fewest number of votes and vote again?
Diane, if I could address that question,
Please do, David.
Melvin, that's exactly what I thought would be an appropriate way to handle the voting, is to have the 3 for a vote, and if none receive a majority, eliminate one and vote again. That seems like an appropriate way to choose the logo.
Okay.
So I suppose the motion would be to vote on it as proposed by Melvin. To have a vote, and if none receive a majority, vote again between the 2 highest vote getters.
Yes,
Okay.
that would make a lot of sense.
Okay.
So David, you're making a motion that we have a vote on the type of vote that we have on the logo. That seems perfectly appropriate to me, and I would like to second that motion.
Okay. but I didn't want to cut off discussion. I was just suggesting that at this point. So if we could have some more discussion, I think that would be appropriate. Thank you, Steve.
Yes, we do have some discussion. Aaron has asked, can the tree logo be tested in black and white? I agree that color can be expensive and you need black and white for letterhead. Yes. To simplify what our visuals we were sharing, we just selected two, but I can share with you what it looks like in black and white. So let's see, I'm gonna find it and get it. Sorry, I have to go find it. So that was the Tree of Hands ones, right? In black and white. Oh,
Yeah.
here we go. So if you see on the cap here, it's in black and white. So it easily converts to black and white as well. In this case, white on black, but it could also be black and white, no problem. And that would be the case with all these logos, the hands holding Vashon as well. Everything would be done in black and white as well as color.
Okay.
Diane, this is Steve again. I wonder if you could show the black and white for the hands logo, the number one, because my wife generated a version of the number one in grayscale and in black and white. And grayscale looked fine. In black and white, it was totally impossible.
You know what? I don't have one done in black and white or grayscale. So that one would need to be worked on. But
Yeah.
I'm sure we could make that happen in a way that would work.
Yeah, that's really where I was going with either one here in the or any of the three. We might well want to have an option of having a color logo and a black and white logo for different uses.
Absolutely. That's always the case with logos. If you have a color logo, you always need to have a black and white logo for sure.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of developing one that would work.
Yeah. So
and
with the blue and green in the first one,
yes,
it may be a challenge.
Well, it's a challenge, but I think our designer Creighton Chamberlain would be very much up for making that happen in a way that will work for us.
It'd be nice to see that before the final vote next month.
Good. Will you have time to do that? And I'm sure he'll be able to make that happen for us. And I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Oh, I have it in grayscale right now. Actually, I just tried to print it in black and white. So if I could share my screen, I could show it. Okay, let me just see how I can get to that. Okay.
And David, just so you know, my wife also did it in grayscale and it looks fine as well.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, it does. So let's see. Can you see this pretty well?
If you could make it bigger, that would be nice.
Okay, I'll try to do that.
I will point out that it will be small quite often.
Yeah. Okay, well, this way you can see all three of them in grayscale.
Well, that's a good point.
Okay.
They seem to work. I like them. They work for me. Any what do other people think about that?
Any other comments?
That Wilson Abbott has a comment I hadn't thought of. His first reaction to the hands holding Vashon was, "It's the old Allstate Insurance. You're in good hands." Ads.
Oh, well, yeah, kind of.
having sued Allstate Insurance many, many times, I don't know if I'd go for that.
It is a little different than that though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
Linda Fox says, but the hands are pointing opposite. And Michaela says, they're a little different than Allstate.
Yeah. Okay.
Linda says she loves the hands logo, but she's not a fan of the font. So the fonts can be adjusted much more easily. For us working on this, the image is the most important thing, and fonts can easily be adjusted. Also, VMICC can be spelled out. Vashon-Maury Island Community Council can be spelled out in different versions of the logo. It doesn't have to be just one all the time. The key thing that would stay would be the image, and other things can be modified around it as needed.
Okay.
And Amy Morrison says that the tree logo reminds her of the Vashon Foundation logo.
Okay.
Melvin says the hands logo in grayscale emphasizes that we are multiracial. Adam Day wonders if it's possible that the hands could be seen as prayer hands. Michaela Oliveri says she loves the hands symbolizing unity. Steve McDonald has a question for Adam. Have you spoken with the folks who run the Point Robinson group?
I have not spoken with the people who run the Point Robinson group, but would be happy to be connected with them if if getting their feedback would be important for picking this design.
Captain Wubbolt, I think, is the name of the guy who's the main person on that, and they're an active organization working with the Park District, which rents out the quarters there, and they might want to have exclusive use of that image of their lighthouse.
I don't know if they can have exclusive image to a public lighthouse like that, especially in an artistic format.
Yeah, I wasn't asking a legalistic question. I was asking more a question of common courtesy.
I think the lighthouse, I mean, I'm speaking with limited knowledge about ownership, but I'm pretty sure it's public ownership of the lighthouse. Is it not?
I think it's owned by the Coast Guard.
Okay, so kind of public, like government owns it.
Yeah, so it just might be worth touching base with some
for sure.
Some folks who we like to want to think are partners of the community council, and we want to be on good relations with them and say, we're considering this as an option. What do you think? And if they say, hey, fine, cool, then everything is okay. But if they say, no, wait a minute, and we've got that on our stationery, we've got that on our whatever, then it's an issue.
Okay, so I think Adam's going to check into that.
I will definitely, touch base with the captain about the use of the lighthouse in an artistic. I will point out that the only other company on the island that uses the logo is Vashon Brewing Company. So I will maybe check and see if they also reached out to the captain for input on this as well.
Okay. So there's a bunch more comments coming through. I'll just read them for you because not everyone can see the chat. So first of all, we have, Deborah Gusson says, I agree the hands could seem a bit religious. Aaron Durrett says the lighthouse is owned by the Coast Guard. Amy Morrison says they say it is illegal to photograph the lighthouse. Aaron suggests touching base with Captain Joe Wubbold. Amy Morrison back again says, from experience, Amy, were you arrested for taking a photo of the lighthouse?
No, but we were going to do a human orca mural there, and because it involves taking an aerial photo, they put the kibosh on us doing it at that location.
Ooh, that's interesting. Okay.
Hmm.
Evie Horton would like to see all three logos again. I'm going to go through the chat first, and we'll put them all up again.
Okay.
Wilson Abbott says, seems like the lighthouse would scale the best. Jill Janow says, the cupped hands look a little too much like a charity. Can the hands be flattened out? Okay, so let's go put them up again. And I think what I'll do is I'll just share them from the website so we can see them all together. Okay, so is that, I can't check the chat while I'm sharing my screen, so I'll have to depend on.
I'll read the chat, and that is
Oh, actually, I found a way to do it. Thank you. I've got it
okay.
now. That's great.
Sure.
Okay, so here we go. Let's see. Okay, can the hands be flattened out so that they're not cupped so much? I don't, Michaela says, I don't see prayer in the hands. And then she shows a little, she shows a different version of how hands are held in prayer.
Yeah.
Cupping represents holding together rather than prayer. And Linda Fox says, I think the hands design is so creative with Vashon in the center. Okay, so I can see the chat now. So if people want to continue commenting on the chat, that's very helpful for me to know that. Michael Chomsky, do we have to choose only one? Sorry, Michael. Yes, we do have to choose only one. It's not, I would not want to consider having a multi-logos for any organization. Okay. What other comments, folks? Would you like to, Ann Lewis says the only problem with the hands is scale. They seem too big. In relation to the island, Anne? Yes. Okay. In relation to the island, she feels the hands are too big.
Hmm.
And David Vogel says the hands look like they are holding water for drinking.
That's how you would put your hands in if you want to reach into a stream.
Yes, or also if you're holding something you didn't want to harm, like
a bird. Yeah.
Something
okay.
you were being very careful of not to harm it. So you wouldn't hold it with your fingers, you'd hold it in the cup of your hand.
Okay. We're fortunate to have 3 nice logos to choose from.
Michaela asks, could the island be bigger versus the hands smaller? Yes, changes like this can be made, but I wouldn't want to make them unless we had a majority of people at this meeting suggesting that. I would like to be able to keep it simple for our next meeting. Terry Sullivan says the hand logo is the only one that definitely identifies Vashon-Maury. And Melvin Mackey says that the cupped hands is emphasizing holding Vashon-Maury Island in our protection. I agree with that too, Melvin. I do feel that very much that way. And Michaela had a thumbs up. Linda Fox says, I agree. Steve McDonald, I'd also like to see a version with the hands smaller. Linda Fox says yes, yes to Melvin, that the cupped hands is emphasizing holding Vashon-Maury Island in our protection. So I would like some guidance from folks about the modifying the hands holding Vashon to make the hands smaller and Vashon larger. How about if we take a poll? Nick, if you could set up a poll to see how many people in this meeting tonight would like to move to a modified version of the hands holding Vashon, and there's a majority of people who tonight who want to see that, will make that happen. Does that sound like an appropriate way to address that, David?
Yeah, or what we could just say is to vote on the logo. Well, that makes sense. Sure.
I would say, from my perspective, being one of the people who's offering a design, I think it would be more fair if we voted first, and if people want changes to the logo that they vote on, then to do that afterwards. But
that would have been my
perspective
suggestion
on that.
too. Yeah, I was going to suggest that also. We could say that that's the logo, but it can be modified. Any one of these.
True, but if someone won't vote for the hands holding the island logo unless the hands are smaller, then they'd vote for something else. I think it's worth finding out how many people that's really important to personally before we go.
Essentially, what we would be doing then is allowing one of the people who's offering a design to change their design before the vote. I find that to be a little unfair.
So just vote with what's here.
It's
right?
easy to change a logo that's already been adopted by the committee. And I think people are smart enough to vote for a design that they like that just needs to be tweaked slightly.
That makes sense, Adam. So understanding that when you vote on one of these logos, it can be tweaked, and it may be tweaked. We know that the font can and may be tweaked, and whether we spell out VMICC or not is going to be something. So in effect, we're voting for this concept, and this concept can be tweaked. Does that make sense,
Okay.
Adam? And David, is that okay with you?
It's okay to me. Sure.
Okay. And if we go with that understanding with everybody, then that would make sense that we could do that. So there are some additional discussions here, and I'm just going to read some of those. Linda Fox, that is a graphic feat to change the hands logo. Why is there interest in that? Just curious. Well, apparently from the discussion, changing the hands logo is that the hands seem too big and the island seems too small, and the scale, some people would like the scale to be different. And I don't think it's a big feat to change that. Evie Horton, IMO, the hands option with colors is rendered now as very close to the Sounders sports team. Michaela, I agree to vote as they are. Steve McDonald, I agree with Adam, but I'd like to have a final vote on all revised logos. Okay, I don't know how we can do that. Because if we vote on the logos as they are, they won't be changed in the final vote. These things will be modified down the road after a logo has been chosen. So I don't know if we're going to be able to do that at all.
Okay.
Okay, Kyle, are we doing ranked choice voting or voting just for one? We would be voting for one.
Correct.
And if that one didn't get a majority, then we eliminate the one that got the least number of votes.
Mm-hmm.
Linda Fox, is there a difference between tweaking and a total redesign? Yes. I think tweaking is just, what we're talking about with the hands and the size of the island versus the hands, that to me is tweaking. A total redesign to me would be changing how the hands are. That would be a total redesign, I would think. So yeah, it's a gray area. We wouldn't be able to vote on the lighthouse and then have, I don't know, some other building there, for example. Will the final design be voted on? The final design, what we're seeing here is what we're going to be voting on. Understanding that as we go forward using this logo, there may be some tweaks to it. That's my understanding, because otherwise, if we vote on this final design and then if we have to make a tweak, what then? Do we have to go back and go through all of this again? I think it's important to allow the users of the logo to have the option to make some tweaks in it as needed.
Okay.
Michael Chomsky, I like how the hands are blue like the ocean and green like moss, not unlike our sports team. Steve McDonald, David, you made a motion to have a ranked choice vote and the motion was seconded. We need to vote on that motion.
Actually, I don't believe it was a ranked choice voting.
No,
It
you
was
did not.
to vote for 3, and the one that got the least votes, if none get a majority, would be eliminated. That's not the same as ranked choice.
Yeah, actually, that is the same as ranked choice, but that's okay. Don't use the term.
Okay. Okay. All right. But we know what we're doing. All right. Well, go ahead.
Date, Melvin, we could always vote on a tweak. The board is at the service of the community council, and the people who show up at these meetings decide what happens. Okay, so should we take that, do that poll on the, or do it a simpler way, David, if you wish, on the choosing the
I think we were
method of
going to just
selecting?
choose if we could just choose the logo, and then if the hands wins, then we can decide to tweak it.
Yes, and
So,
also if
are
there's
we
no
voting
majority.
today? Are we
No.
voting today or
We're
okay.
voting next month.
But we make a motion at this meeting.
It's already made and seconded, though. We already had the motion made and Oh, in
No,
terms
the
of how
only
we
motion
tweak it?
No.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
the only motion that has been talked about is how we're going to decide if there's no majority of
Right.
votes for a particular one.
Right.
Right.
And then we choose one of the 3 logos. And if we choose the hands holding Vashon, at that point, we can choose to tweak it or not tweak it at that point. I think there was some
Well-
opposition to doing it otherwise.
Well,
Yes.
your idea initially, David, was that if there's one of the 3, which
Right.
is at the bottom of the list, there's no
Right.
majority, and one of the 3 is at the bottom of the list, then we eliminate that one, and we recommend 2 of them for next month's vote.
No. That was for next
No.
month. We don't vote this month on a motion. When we make a motion, the vote is the following month. Steve, that's the tradition for the community council.
So your motion about the ranked choice was your motion of eliminating the bottom one of the 3 if there's no majority had to do
Right.
with the vote for next month, not for what we're
Correct.
recommending this month.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And at this point, we're a little bit late in our schedule, and I was hoping we could move on to the dark skies discussion.
Okay, so just to be clear, we're not going to even make a motion at this meeting. We are going to do all the voting at the next meeting. And people will choose, we'll have a poll, and the poll will be for you choose one of the 3 logos during the poll at our next meeting, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So tonight was just the initial discussion, and next time we'll be spending our time doing the voting.
Correct.
Very good. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you, Diane, and thank you, Adam, for your presentation. So, yeah, we've got 3 good choices. And the next item on our agenda is to discuss dark skies, and Cosmo Diskin, well, is he here?
So
Oh, there
I
he
am
is.
here, but I'm
Okay, I
actually
see him.
just the middleman in that my father, Lance Diskin, is on this call as well. I'm a local here in Vashon. I live down in Maury. My dad
Okay.
lives in Flagstaff, Arizona, which is the world's first dark sky city. And he's actually going to handle this presentation because he's the guru here. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute
Okay,
him, and he'll do a little video intro, and then we'll start a slide deck for him.
great.
You're up.
Okay, everyone, thank you. And I guess the first question is, who am I and why should you pay any attention to me? My name is Lance Diskin. I'm a founder of the Flagstaff Dark Skies Coalition. That was more than 20 years ago. Flagstaff, Arizona is the world's first international dark sky community because we have been concentrating on protecting this particular environmental quality for more than 60 years. So that's triple the duration of time that I've been working on it. Now we're simply standing on the shoulders of other people, but we are considered the world leader. I didn't know exactly what your interest was in this very multifaceted area. There are different kinds of lighting pollution, different kinds of remedies for it, etc. So I did a little brief slideshow, which I'll go through at the beginning, and then maybe it will help focus the questions that you might have for me. So I'm not a technologist, but I think Cosmo is going to start this program, and we'll go through it as quickly as we can. Okay, this is, as it says, the Earth at night. You can see, I hope everybody is able to see this. I am acting and speaking as if you can. You can see the spread of artificial light across the planet. Obviously, the eastern seaboard is one of the major sources of lighting in the United States. Europe is very heavily lit. Japan is very heavily lit. We are basically here in Flagstaff in this kind of hole of darkness. And this area right up here is the Puget Sound. So let's go a little bit next one. Just take a look at the next image. It's a different way to represent the lighting. But you can see there's a great deal of lighting in the eastern part of the United States and not much lighting in the western half of the United States. Again, this is a very beautiful picture, very pretty. It's frequently referred to as the Christmas ornament. But every single piece of light that you see in this picture is wasted, because all of this is seen from orbit, which means all of this light is going straight up into the sky. And one of the reasons to practice good lighting is to reduce the consumption of multiple resources that are used to generate the lighting. Coal, uranium, oil, most of all, water. So it's very resource consumptive, and there's no reason to throw it all up into the sky. Okay, so we're going to try to zoom down on Vashon a little bit. Do the next slide. Again, a little bit better picture. You can see here up on the edge, on this edge, the Puget Sound. You can see there is quite a bit of lighting in this image. Next one. Another view where you can see the eastern seaboard, and this one goes all the way up into Alaska. But you can see the western half of the United States has some dark places, and the coasts, where the population is centered, still has quite a bit. Even Hawaii, you can see in the middle of the ocean, has a little bit of light. Next, please. This is a nocturnal image. Los Angeles at the bottom. This is Phoenix, Tucson, Las Vegas, the brightest pixel on the planet is Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, Denver, and Albuquerque. We can barely get up here to see in this view the Seattle area. Next one, please. Another display, a little bit more because you can see the state outlines, and you can see this is where you are, this is the Olympic Peninsula, etc. Next. Okay, this is a shot from space station. This is Seattle. This is Vashon. In the very corner of the image is Vashon. A little bit closer view, next image, is a little bit better view of Vashon. This is main part of town. This is the ferry arrival on one end, and this is the far, I guess it would be south end of the island. You have to excuse me. Again, here we have, this is again a little bit blurry image because of its the orbital speed with which it's taken, but you can see there is a light footprint on Vashon. Next, please. This is also a rendition of where lighting is greatest. So the center is the brightest lights, and here you have just out off of Seattle, you have where the lighting falls off a bit. But you see it has a very big footprint. Okay, let me move along so we get through these slides. Next, please. I've been to Vashon many times, or several times, and I think you're great. What can I tell you? I think it's a wonderful place. And you have a tremendous resource here, but it's going to take active action to preserve it. Next, please. This is the Seattle skyline from Vashon. And as you can see here, if you can follow my cursor, you have areas of what's called sky glow. That's one type of light pollution, is sky glow. So as you look to the mainland, you have several areas of sky glow. Next picture. This is Vashon. You have no sky glow, virtually none. So this is the radio towers down on Maury. And this is taken from the ferry as you arrive on Vashon. No sky glow in this image at all. Next, please. Lighting, there are different kinds of lighting. There's street lighting impacts. There's advertising lighting impacts. There's residential lighting impacts. In the United States, we've gone from this kind of a fixture, which gives yellow light. This is in Philadelphia, the first city in America where there was street lighting. Next picture. You get decorative kinds of lighting, where people are using the same old technology, but in different kind of fixtures. Next picture. And this is modern lighting, which is the conversion to LEDs. And now you see there is a global revolution in lighting built around LEDs. LEDs are positive and good in some way because they're more efficient and they use less energy, and therefore you're saving the resource by not consuming the water, the oil, etc., to generate the electricity. But it has a negative impact, and that's on light pollution. LEDs are not just a positive environmental benefit. LEDs are both good and bad, have a good impact and a bad impact. Next, please. Just for your reference, this is what's called the Bortle Scale, which is night sky visibility. Vashon somewhere around 5 or 6. guesstimation by me, having been there and taken pictures, etc. So you have a great deal of spill lighting from the mainland that affects you. Next picture, please. In trying to think about Vashon Lighting, this is one specific situation. This is, again, sky glow. So this is just upward light that spills into the sky. Next picture. This picture was taken in Marina del Rey, but it could be Vashon because Vashon has cloudy skies. So you're not necessarily throwing light into a star-filled sky. You're more likely to be throwing light into a cloud, an obscured atmosphere filled with water vapor. So this is a kind of pollution, light pollution, that Vashon could very well generate. Next, please. All kinds of different things about lighting, and I can talk and follow up with you at a later time. There's uplight, which is light that goes up into the sky straight and vanishes. It lights the underside of birds. It does nothing for human beings. It is completely wasted, a useless energy expenditure with numerous environmental costs. You also have issues of glare, which is sometimes called trespass lighting, in that a light will be on one property, but it will shine onto somebody else's property. So trespass lighting is a frequent consumer issue, and it takes good neighborliness to really address it, although it can be addressed by various remediations. Next one, please. Okay, this is our street. They have just put in a new amber spectrum LED streetlight right across from our house. And this is just to show you the issue of throw. You can see this is a night sky friendly fixture because it emits no light above the horizontal. A full cutoff fixture means light only goes down. This is not common, this kind of a light that has a fixture that puts all the light on the ground. That's part of Flagstaff's leadership in night sky protection. Next, please. I show this to you just because this illustrates one of the many issues about lighting that you will have to address, and that is the issue of spectrum. It's not just a matter of brightness, it's a matter of color. And you can remediate bad lighting through the right spectral choice. So I just put this in here again. You have to think about the spectrum of lighting. Next one, please. This one shows 4 street lights with 4 different kinds of light. But it does illustrate spectrum. The 2 lights on the right side of the screen, you can see by their throw, are very bright and full spectrum white, whereas the 2 on the left have a different ambiance that they produce. So spectrum is critical. Next, please. Fixtures are critical. If you have a fixture like this, it couldn't be worse. 100% of the light from this fixture is going sideways, up, and almost none of it is going down where people live. So this is an example of a bad fixture and a kind of light pollution that can be remedied by the right fixture. Next, please. This is a public building. Public governments are frequently guilty of bad decisions. They just don't know what the options are. This is a restroom in a park in Flagstaff, and they put all the lighting in that was friendly, amber, but it had holes in the top that had the interior light shine out. So you can even be a dark sky city like we are, trying to do the right thing and ending up with something that's horrible. We had to remedy it. Okay, next, this is a good fixture. It's shielded. The light goes down. It doesn't go out, it doesn't go up, it puts the light on the ground. The motto of the Flagstaff Dark Skies Coalition is not, we'll put your lights out, or we should all live in the dark, but the right light in the right place at the right time. This is an issue here of a good fixture, bright light, place. I don't know about the timing. Next, please. So these are the kinds of fixtures that you can advocate. I understand that there is a political reality about Vashon, and that is you do not have a municipal government. Your government is, I saw at the beginning of this meeting, someone was there from the unincorporated division of King County. So you have a political jurisdiction that's going to be King County. That's your nearest place to go. Were you to wish to establish a lighting code? But that's a political, multi-step political process, and there are things you can do short of that. My understanding from being on Vashon is there are only 1 or 2 hardware stores. Now, frequently, you would have the same experience we have in Flagstaff. If you go to the big box stores or many hardware stores, they will tell you, gee, that's a good idea to have a fixture like that, but we don't control what's on our shelves. What Walmart sells in Flagstaff is set in Bentonville, Arkansas. And all of the things that they sell are incompatible in Flagstaff. But they sell them anyway because they don't have a chance to be locally responsive. So, but there's the hardware store downtown in Vashon, and they could possibly put up a sign that says, this is a Vashon night sky friendly fixture. And people could voluntarily buy that. Next, please. Again, it's all a matter of putting the light where you want it instead of all kinds of other places where you don't want it and it's not needed. Next, please. This speaks for itself. We are already in a situation of massive overlighting, and it only gets worse. So this is the scenario we're trying to prevent. You have a little bit of area here that might be addressable. But you can see it's creeping westward from all the overlit areas in the east. Next, please. It's hard to say. I haven't seen a sky like this on Vashon. Too much water vapor. But that is the heritage we are trying to protect. That a human being can have that experience. Now, they may have to go into eastern Washington, where I saw many beautiful skies. It's going to be rare, I would think, that you're going to see a sky like this on Vashon. It's too aquatic. But that is the experience that the dark sky movement is trying to protect for humanity. It is the fastest growing environmental movement on the planet, night sky protection. Next, please. Unlike many other problems we have, we do not have to create a new technology. We do not have to, create cold fusion reactors or anything else. All we have to do is put the light out. It's an environmental pollution that is perhaps easiest to solve. Oh, I went too far. Let me get back to here. Oh, this is my final comment. The problems of modernity are hubris and egocentricity. And the answer is humility. There is no greater shortcut to humility than looking into a night sky. It's humbling. And humility is what we need more of. And Vashon has a tremendous opportunity to lead voluntarily, to do something that is an example for other people to follow, even if it's not a mandated lighting code, etc. So there are political ways to deal with it, and there are consciousness-raising things to deal with it, and there are all kinds of methods within those: fixtures, color, spectrum, etc., etc. And I will be happy to talk with you folks more about that in detail, and I'll try to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have some questions? I know, Lance, flying down from Alaska one time at night, you could see how dramatic the difference is from one community to another. And coming back to Vashon, you could see how dark Vashon was compared to many of the surrounding areas. But that also, though, brings up the point that a lot of our light pollution is not caused on Vashon, but by surrounding areas like Tacoma, Bremerton, and Seattle.
Well, all I can say is people have to be in it for the long haul. There is not a single simple answer to this issue. It's going to take actions voluntarily by communities. It's going to take efforts by citizens to provoke municipalities into a response, states and counties into a response, and ultimately the federal government. Now, we're behind the line in the United States. In the United Kingdom, there's one day a year when Parliament does nothing but talk about dark skies in the United Kingdom. What's it doing? What's happening? Where is it getting worse? What are the impacts? What are the new technologies, etc.? There's one day a year when that government, national government, fixates on dark skies and light pollution. That's not true yet in the United States, but it is true at the municipal level of a number of communities. Flagstaff was the model for dark sky communities that is now administered by the International Dark Sky Association, IDA. There are now more than 300 designated dark sky entities. Some of them are towns, some of them are cities, some of them are counties, some of them are tribal nations, some of them are Indian reservations, some of them are reserves, et cetera, but there is good support at the grassroots for this kind of action. And as I say to people, I'm a longtime environmental activist and organizer. The night sky is the only ecosystem in which all human beings reside. Mountain people are star people. Island people are star people. Desert people are star people. Jungle people are star people. Polar people are star people. So this is, instead of having different groups fighting to save, oh, the mountains or the lakes or whatever, this is the one place where everybody comes together. Vashon can lead in that effort. It just is a matter of, this is something we're going to deal with in the future. It doesn't mean you're going to solve it right away, but it just is, this is something we choose to address.
Well, thank you very much, Lance, for your presentation. It's a good place to start.
Yes, it is just a start. And we will be happy to, we confer with other groups, municipalities, towns, etc., about what they can do. And we will be happy to work with you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda, and we're running a little late, but that's okay, is the Vashon Time Bank, speaking of time, with Amy Morrison from the Backbone campaign. Let's see, Amy.
Amy, you're muted.
I am so sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, let me try again.
All right.
Okay. I think that's good, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So last spring, some of us in the Backbone campaign asked the question, what are some ways that we can build resilience? You know, and because we're in the middle of this pandemic. And one of the things we came up with was maybe we can restart the local time bank. So I know there've been a few iterations of time banks in our community before, and we talked to folks that have been involved with that and interviewed them about what worked, what didn't. We also found out that the software for time banking has really improved a lot. And so we signed up for a subscription for that. And we started reaching out to people on the island about how they might use a time bank. So what is a time bank is the basic question. It's not bartering and it's not a replacement for the money economy. So those are two very important points. It's the tool by which a network of people create an alternative economic model where they use time credits instead of cash. So you give an hour of service and you receive one time credit. So it's pretty basic. We have 5 core values that we took from timebanks.org, which started the time banking movement in the 70s. The first is that everyone has something of value to offer. So cooking a meal for somebody is valuable. Reading a story to somebody is valuable. Sharing your life story with somebody is valuable. Our second value is redefining work. So the idea that the work that actually contributed to the survival of our species is so undervalued in our society today. So time banking is a way to revalue that very important work that holds us together as a community, as a family, as a neighborhood. The third is reciprocity. So it's not charity. You're not just, giving charity to people, but it's actually a two-way street, even though like maybe you give a service to somebody and then they give a service to somebody else, and it can be a whole web of sharing. Community, it helps create communities of support, and then respect. So I do want to say that even though this time bank was started by the Backbone campaign, we want everybody in our community to be able to be part of it And it doesn't matter what your political, values are or anything, we welcome everybody. So we're trying to create a firewall between the Backbone campaign and the Time Bank. So they're different. Basically, it works that an hour of service gives you one-time credit. And this little drawing here, I don't know if it's a little bit hard to see, but it talks about how the sharing is not a closed one-to-one situation, although it can be, but it's more like a web of reciprocity. So when you receive a service from somebody, you agree to give a service to another person. And there can be different types of exchanges. It can be one person sharing with one other person. It can be one person volunteering their time for a community organization. It can be one person teaching a group of people something like Spanish language or yoga. It can be a group of people that come together to help one Time Bank member, or it can be many to many, like at a community event like we just had on Saturday when we did our Vashon Fix-It Cafe. So that's a good example of that. And there's lots of reasons to join. You can make new connections. It helps, like I said, build communities so you're not maybe feeling so isolated, especially during a pandemic. You can maybe get things done around your house or yard that you don't have the time, skills, or strength to do on your own. You can try out new experiences or learn about something completely new to you. You can also volunteer. You can learn about volunteer opportunities in the community. Builds trust. There's probably other reasons why people join too. We are open to individuals on Vashon as well as to organizations. And so an organization can sign up to be a member of the Time Bank. It's free. We make it super easy for organizations to use. And then they can post what their volunteer needs are for their organization. Time Bank members can sign up to do those volunteer jobs, and then they can get time credits for those volunteer hours. So like this weekend, for example, Vega, the farmers market, posted that they needed volunteer help to make the farmers market run. And so I'm going to sign up to volunteer there on Saturday and get some time credits. And we have tried to make it really easy. You just go to vashontime.org. That takes you to the new Time Bank. You create a profile, you fill out a membership application, you verify your email, and you agree to the terms of service. So it doesn't take very long at all. And then you can think of the offers that you can add. Sometimes people say to me, I am so busy, I don't have time to make an offer in the Time Bank, which is completely fine. You can just join, see how things work. Maybe you get inspired and think of an offer that you hadn't thought of before, or you can just hang back and see the types of offers and requests there are, and maybe you can meet somebody's request or you can take advantage of somebody else's offer. So we encourage you just to jump in and try it and do what feels comfortable and is appropriate for your capacity. And then think of requests, think of some kind of help or interest that you have, but you haven't yet found somebody with the skills or knowledge to assist you, or maybe to discover something with you. Like maybe you want to do a community meetup and do some stitching together with people, or you could do that in the Time Bank. And then if you're part of a nonprofit organization, we hope that you'll go to them and suggest that they look into joining the Time Bank. We can make a presentation to their board. Another way of growing community is to present at our community teach-ins that we hold about 9 times a year. And you can share your knowledge in a 30-minute presentation with the community, and it's all free. And we're hoping that the time bank will inspire other ways that together on Vashon we can build the sharing and circular economies on our island. And maybe the time bank could be a resource for your particular project. And this is a fun poster that Carl Castle did for us. And just the idea that everyone has something to offer. And it may not seem apparent at first, but probably once you get into the time bank, you'll discover that you too have things that you could offer. And I'm going to turn it over now to Deborah Perpetua, who's going to talk a little bit about how she's been involved. Deborah, are you able to unmute?
I think she, oh, okay. I think Deborah is unmuted.
Okay, well, I can continue to talk.
Okay.
So Linda asked, can you explain what the time credits earned are used for? Yeah, thanks. So if you earn time credits, say you go to somebody's house and you give them advice on landscaping their yard, for example, and so you spend an hour with them, so you get one time credit. You can then spend that on something that you need around your house. And it can be different, like maybe you want to learn a foreign language and there's somebody in the time bank that is willing to teach that language, so you can connect with them, and then you would spend your time credit there, and then they would have a time credit to spend on something. I don't know if I did a very good job explaining that. Okay, how is it different from bartering, which I was part of and was something shut down by the IRS? It's different from bartering because everybody's time is valued equally. So if you're getting an hour of service from, say, I don't know, a lawyer, it's the same as giving an hour of service reading a book to a child. So it's all equal. There's no difference. The idea is that time is our most precious resource, and it's all equal no matter who we are. Yeah, so all hours are created equal. Walk us all the way through a transaction. Well, in the spirit of time, Linda, you're a member of the time bank, so I can show you how to do that, but I also want to make sure we have time for Aaron's presentation. And then Deborah says, would just say that the time exchange has been a great way for me to build community, learn new skills, and to meet our island neighbors. And if you want to sign up, you go to vashontime.org, and it's all free. And we partnered with the Vashon Tool Library and Zero Waste Vashon last weekend and did a Fix It Cafe. We ended up fixing, I don't know, close to 30 items, and Terry Sullivan was part of that crew, and I think Terry's still here. We had a really great time. So we're looking to do more projects like that.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Amy, for the introduction. And I guess, as I said before, we are running a little late, so if we could move on. Are there any last questions for the time bank? Sorry. Is there?
Armin has one.
Yeah.
What's wrong with dollars being the unit of exchange versus time credits? How does this create any advantage or benefit? How does what create any advantage or benefit? Oh, using time creating
As
advantage
opposed to
or
money.
benefit as opposed to money.
Well, like I said, we're not trying to replace money. It's just an alternative currency. So the idea is that a time bank exists alongside our money economy. And of course, you know, we all, like most of us anyway, are dependent on the money economy as well. So it's just an alternative to use when it works for you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again, Amy, and really enjoy having the participation of Backbone Campaign in our council. It's really a great organization. So our next presenter is Erin Durrett, and she's going to talk about beach etiquette and harvesting from our sea. So, Erin, if yeah, I see you took off mute, so that's great.
Hi. I know that we're running a little bit late, so I'm just going to give some ideas about, and I know many of you here are beach enthusiasts yourselves, and for those of you who may not spend a lot of time on the island's beaches, I would just say that to be aware that from the moment you walk into the plants at the edge of the drift, it's the same as walking into a forest or any other very intensely living habitat. You're in the presence of myriad creatures. And as you walk down the beach, I would just ask that you be aware of the cobbles and the sand that you're walking on. And when you're in an area like a tide pool area that is partly sand, partly seagrasses, partly cobble rocks, that you do your very best to walk on what looks like bare sand. That is one way of staying out of the eelgrass, which is you can't see the thousands of animals that are living in and under the seagrass. So it's best to just stay out of the seagrass on what looks like bare sand, and be aware that even though it looks like bare sand, there are hundreds of animals living under where you're standing at any given moment. And that the habitat is really endlessly rich and diverse, and that we do everything that we can to respect and protect that living habitat area, and not just look at it as recreational or a food source, or but that we're actually walking into a different kind of forest of a different kind of beings. When I got the initial invitation to come, I saw that really there was a primary interest in what people could learn about our shellfish resources. And that's not, as a beach guide and a member of the Lighthouse crew and a naturalist, that's not my specific area of expertise. So I'm going to pass the torch to William Shadbolt and let him take over on the shellfish.
Thank you very much. Can my screen be shared?
Yep.
Okay. Is everybody seeing just the slide or the presenter version? I'm just concerned which screen.
I don't see any screen share yet.
Okay.
William, the screen share option should be at the bottom of your screen. It says it'll share there. There you go.
Excellent. Yeah, so Aaron and myself, we communicated about this, and I'm more than happy to do a different presentation about shellfish gathering at another time. But we got talking about this, and mainly because of the timing, that there is a very limited window to do recreational shellfish farming of sowing the seed, that we decided that this would be a slightly more timely presentation. So a little bit about myself. As you can tell from the accent, I'm not from Vashon, I'm from Burton. Some people find that one amusing. I live on the Burton Peninsula and on the have tidelands, and I do recreational shellfish farming. So why should we do that? It's a healthy food source. Shellfish is a great source of protein. It's good for the environment. I could spend an entire hour talking about the advantages of how oysters filter 50 gallons of water a day, how it will help clean up particularly the inner quartermaster harbor. It reduces carbon dioxide in the water because the shells are made out of calcium carbonate. It reduces the acidification of the sea. There's so many different reasons why the shellfish beds, particularly oysters, were great for this environment. And there's some very large nonprofits. There's the Puget Sound Restoration Fund that is doing large-scale ones, but I'm just talking about people that are having fun with it. So, how to do it? The big vendor for seed is Taylor Shellfish. They're obviously a commercial grower, but they do community seed sales, and I'll come to that at the end of the slide. So where can you do it? Obviously, privately owned tidelands that are safe. The first thing you want to do is check with the Department of Health because they test the waters. So this is actually the map of Vashon that's actually live at the moment, and you'll see that the green is safe. Unfortunately, we do have some of the brown areas, which basically means that it's closed, and the very inner part of Quartermaster Harbor is because of the marina. Most of it is basically runoff from septic systems, and in some areas agricultural chemicals that they've used. And then if you notice that these red slash marks in virtually the whole of Quartermaster Harbor, that basically is just for butter and varnish clams. They retain biotoxins a lot longer than others like the native little necks that we have here or geoduck. So the first thing to do is check whether it's safe to do it. And this is only if you want to eat them. If you just want to improve the beaches, then it would be great for more people in Quartermaster Harbor to sow oyster shells or clams. So these are actually some little manila clams that I actually sowed last year. They really love the heavy, rocky beach that you tend to have very close to the upper part of the beach, kind of the +4 and higher. As you can see, that's my hand. They're absolutely tiny, and they'll grow into basically those little native ones that you can buy at Thriftway. One of the things that you can do, you don't have to, but just to protect them from predators, which is typically seagulls and crows, is you can use a mesh netting over them to protect them, but you don't have to. So oysters, this is actually kind of, to me, I found this was by far the most interesting one because you can see them grow literally month by month. I decided to use a bag method where the bags are tied down to a rope around the 1 foot tidal mark. So this is just an example of some, I picked some Kumamoto oysters last June. 6th of June, they were sown. They come in a bag like this. There was about 360 of them. And they are pretty small when you get them. Anything between about 3/8 of an inch to at most 1/2 an inch. It is amazing at how quickly these things grow. That is 1 month later. That's how big they've grown. It is phenomenal, particularly in the summer months and when they're very young, how the growth is exponential. It does slow down a little bit as they get bigger, and particularly I found over the winter they definitely slow the growth down. But as you can see, they're growing and they're absorbing a huge amount of carbon. All that shell is basically, I think it's about 98% pure calcium carbonate. So this is December. You notice that between the last one, there really isn't a huge difference. So they do slow down in the winter time. And when you buy your seed from Taylor Shellfish, they actually give you a tag, and you actually have to provide a tax ID parcel. And you just put these tags on that let people know that you're a residential one. So the method that I use, as I said, is these bags. These 2 bags are finer mesh. You actually just need that finer mesh when they're very small, but within a month or 2, as you can see, they were big enough that they wouldn't get through the mesh. So they then got split into 5 bags. And the reason why you split them down is just give them more space for them to be able to filter that water. So on average, they can filter, an oyster can filter up to 100 gallons, but on average about 50 gallons of water a day. So literally those oysters that you see in those bags will clean 6 million gallons of water each year, which is an amazing amount of water. And in fact, there's if you Google online oyster filter time lapse, there's a couple of great videos where they show 2 tanks. They look exactly the same at the beginning, filled with very green algae water, and the time-lapse video you can see and how the oysters clean the water up. So the other thing that I have done is sowing the geoduck. These like the very, very low tides, -2 and lower, and in fact actually you can see them below the extreme low water mark. They're tiny little things. They're expensive seeds. Literally each one of these things are $2.50 each, and they have quite a high mortality rate. You use these plastic tubes to stop predators getting into them, and you actually cover them with a mesh that I took off just so you can see them. Typical commercial growers will put 3 in a tube, hoping that 1 survive. Right now, out of the 12 that I put in last year, 11 are growing, which is great. And then after about 18 or 24 months, you just take the tube out, and there's no visual pollution on there. So community shellfish from Taylor, you can order online from May 24th to June the 8th, pick up in Shelton on June the 12th. They also do a pickup date in July up in North in Burlington, or they'll ship direct in August. If anybody is interested, or they have friends that have tied lines that are interested, I know one of the barriers is getting down to past Olympia just to go and pick them up. I'm actually going to go down there and get some more seed for myself, and I'm happy to pick up anybody's orders. And that is the end of the presentation. I know I went through it pretty quickly, but I want to be conscious of everybody's time, and I did give Hunter a PDF copy of it if anybody's interested. I'm happy to answer any questions.
There is one question that has come up. Michaela asked, what are the property lines on the beach? What belongs to homeowners and what is public?
Oh, boy, I can tell you, I have researched this. Okay, so the state of Washington, since actually from before it was a state, sold off tidelines. Up until the March the 8th, 1911, they sold down to mean low water. After that, they sold to extreme low water. However, they also allowed people that had owned the tidelines prior to that to buy that strip of land between mean low and extreme low. So one of the issues that we have is the average person doesn't know, does this property, private beach, the private tidelands, and a mean low or extreme low? Give you an example. The entire peninsula of Burton was sold by the state of Washington in 1910. And later, the Peninsula Land Company that was selling the lots off bought all the strip from mean low to extreme low. So there are plenty of opportunities of public beaches. and DNR land around. And the map that I showed you of for the Department of Health actually has all those marked out as bold lines with little X's between, so you can see exactly which is in public ownership and anybody can collect. You know, legally, there are actually, the main case was Brennan versus the city of Bainbridge, went to the Court of Appeals. They ruled that people don't have the right to even walk across private tidelands. Went to the Washington State Supreme Court, they denied review. So it's pretty, there is some precedential value in that. Then I see there's another question. William, could I buy seed and sow it on any local beach? No, you would have to ask, if it's a private tideland, you'd have to ask the owner. I can't see why they wouldn't want to have it. It's great to improve our beaches. As for the public beaches, you'd have to reach out to the public entity, whether it's Vashon Park or King County or DNR. And then there's another question. For those who love clams but don't want to eat them, are there species worth seeding around our shores for filtration or birds? I would actually say, you know, to really improve our tidelands, the oysters are actually by far the best. And you could actually, if you Google growing oyster benefits, I think the University of Connecticut has this entire document on all the different ways it improves the quality of the sea beds, gives environment for you know, small fish to grow around, reduces the carbon dioxide that's in the water, it reduces the acids. If you're looking for something for birds to eat, they love the little necks. So those would be definitely the ones to say if you're just wanting birds. Although I have to say it is rather annoying having to sweep off clams that they've dropped on my driveway. Yeah, most mornings. Does anybody else have any other questions? I'm more than happy to answer any. What species of oyster do well in colder water, Puget Sound versus Hood Canal? Well, there's actually, this is interesting, and you know, one of the kind of the fun things about recreational is you just experiment. I think Quartermaster, the Kumamoto oysters, do incredibly well. I know a commercial shellfish farmer near Olympia that does incredibly well with triploid oysters. And of course, you can't overlook our native Olympia oysters. They're small, but they obviously were native to this, and we really need to have those back in abundance.
William, would it be possible to put your email in the chat so that people who want to ask more questions can contact you?
Absolutely, I'm doing that right now. Happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you.
My pleasure.
And thank you for your presentation.
My pleasure.
Hey.
I really enjoyed just getting out on the beach and improving the environment.
Again, thank you. Our next item on the agenda is community announcements. Are there any people who have something that they'd like to share as a community announcement? Okay.
Hi everyone, this is Sharoop Kumar. I'd love to give an update on Vashon Bioenergy Farm.
Sure.
Okay, well, thanks for having me today, Dave, and thanks to Diane for encouraging our team to provide an update. I'd like to share, I do have a quick presentation just to get everyone up to speed. Is everyone able to see this? Okay, so Vashon Bioenergy Farm, we are part of Impact Bioenergy. My name is Sharoop Kumar, and I'm on community engagement. So I'm focused on cooperation and partnerships. And just for some background, at Impact Bioenergy, we manufacture modular systems that convert food waste into renewable energy and organic plant food. So Vashon Bioenergy Farm is a community scale model, and it's thanks to Washington State, King County DNRP, Zero Waste Vashon, as well as project partners. Um, as Lance alluded to earlier, Vashon can lead by example as a shining star for other communities to follow. And this project here is very close to my heart. I wish I lived on island, but I don't. I'm actually in Seattle in the U District in Wallingford neighborhood. But we have a couple folks on island like Paco Joyce and Tammy Brockaway. They've been helping us. And so for those who aren't aware of this project, there's a Vashon-Maury Island is home to the world's first zero waste regenerative bioenergy farm. And so this is a milestone in the race to zero. That's zero waste, zero hunger, and zero carbon. And so this is probably the most important slide here from the deck, which is showing the circular economy at play. And so we're located at Island Spring Organics. And so from their food processing, all of that rich okara and whey, we've been digesting mainly those ingredients. And the system will convert that into an organic renewable natural gas. That's orange, O-R-N-G. We use that for vehicles. So they're fueling vehicles on island today with a carbon negative profile for that fueling. And the main product is PBF, which is a probiotic food for plants. And it's a nutrient soil amendment that goes straight to growers on island. And so the process overall, here's an example of how it works. About 65 pounds goes into the system, gets digested. It's basically a mechanical cow. And then we're generating the equivalent of about a gasoline gallon, along with plenty of clean electricity, if there's a way to generate it. And then along with that comes 7 gallons of this liquid PBF. So at Matsuda Farm, as well as some other growers on island, farms, home growers, and landscapers, we've been feeding that system. And so we're finding out there's amazing value proposition here. It's not just zero waste. Of course, we have reduced transportation, the renewable fuel and clean energy aspect, and the regenerative organic products, and of course, resource conservation. In the end, this is all about resiliency and self-sufficiency. So those local circular economy jobs, there is basically a new type of job that brings together food and energy systems. So the energy is stored, and that can be used for many different things, but vehicular use is the highest value because we're able to offset imported fuels and fossil-based fuels. And so this is just a chart of what California Air Resource Board, how they have a carbon value associated to each fuel. And you'll notice that it goes negative here for bio-based fuels. And so this is the type of fuel that we're generating. So just to give you a summary, this is basically the equivalent of planting 10,000 Douglas fir trees in one fell swoop with this project. And over time, these carbon intensity values are showing to be more and more valuable. But in the end, really the food system, that's the most valuable. So feeding the food system with the co-products, which are liquid and dry, that's what we're really about it. And our dry plant food is now available at Country Store as well as online at our website here, vashonbio.energy. So we have a flora and fauna club where users can have access to unlimited liquid food throughout the season, and the results are astounding. We did some basil trials. We're seeing fertigation with a 25% blend of the liquid. It results in almost 10 times more biomass than business as usual. And so the data, it's also starting to uncover the valuable ecosystem services in support of no-till farming and higher yield on product and produce with higher nutrient density even. So it's quite a combination. And I didn't want to take too much time. I know we're already over, but there's a website if folks are interested, and feel free to email me if there are any questions. But this is all about meaningful local jobs in the circular economy, resiliency and disaster preparedness here. One of the big co-benefits, because this plant now at Island Spring Organics, it would have enough for 30 days supply of food, fuel, and fertilizer. And so in the end, this is also, odor and vector control for food waste, because right now it's being shipped off island, and it's quite intensive for the county to manage. And so this is basically going from an intensive management system to a restorative management system. So thank you for your time, and I'll take any questions. Glad to answer if you'd like.
I have a question. The governor signed the clean fuels bill today. I'm curious how that'll impact your operation.
Sorry, trying to unmute there. Yes, that's very exciting. We've been lobbying for the clean fuel standard for many years, and this basically generates, it's like a whole new local food movement now, because now we can produce, just like we do food, we can produce local fuels, and there's actually carbon attributes there that, the actual tollers on the environment, fossil fuel and whatnot, they have to pay for credits now that would go towards projects like this to offset and hopefully substitute for a lot of the fossil fuels. So in this project, we could generate somewhere around 20 to 30,000 gallon equivalents of fuel. And through the clean fuel standard, we might be able to access some credits that would help pencil out. This is a demonstration project, so the pencil out is very important. So having that economic model with these type of credits, that would be fantastic. Great question.
Great. Well,
I have a question.
Sure.
I can't seem to do this right. Can anybody use that fuel now? Or who's using it now?
So we have a Honda Civic passenger vehicle that we're sharing with the community. So folks could co-op and use that vehicle. We also have a truck. We just converted an F-350, a very old, I think it's a 2007 model. So a used vehicle that we can then clean up by installing a whole nother gas tank. So that truck has two gas tanks now, a gasoline tank and then a CNG tank, compressed natural gas. And instead of using a fossil-based natural gas, we compress the renewable, the orange, organic renewable natural gas. And that now is used to distribute the liquid plant food with different users on island, different farmers, and hopefully with Vigo, we'd love to start offering that truck for others to use as well. So it's a 1-ton pickup truck running on a carbon negative fuel, and this is an existing vehicle. It's not one of these exotic electric trucks that are supposed to come out. This is tried and true and very, very clean.
Wow.
There's a question from Armin. Could you put back up the slide with the 7 kilowatt hours and the equivalence to a gallon of gas?
Sure, yeah. Oh, would you like me to present the slide again?
Sure.
Okay. Yes, with this, let's see here. This slide. So yeah, approximately 65 pounds then generates about a gasoline gallon. So we have these orange tanks that we'd like to start testing more as a propane substitute. That fuel can go to generator and generate around 7 kilowatt hours. So if you do the math, a little less than 10 pounds of food waste can generate 1 kilowatt hour of clean electricity. And then, every 10 pounds also on average generates about 1 gallon. So this would generate about 7 gallons of this PBF, organic plant food. So in the end, this mechanical cow is basically using the bread and butter of food waste to make these resources, mechanical manure essentially, and gas that's captured and utilized.
It's a great project.
Oh, thanks. And the
Thank you for
greenhouse
sharing.
growing. Oh,
Yeah.
very welcome. The greenhouse growing is so exciting, especially a year-round basis. So if folks around Island would like to co-op around greenhouses, we're always game.
Yeah. Well, I think I'd mentioned that I'm looking at one in the future. Yeah.
Yes. Looking forward to talking to you more about that, Dave. And
Okay,
anyone
good.
else. Thanks for everyone's time.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the next item was an open discussion on sustainable tourism, but it's my understanding that Ryan can't make tonight's meeting. So looks like that brings us to the conclusion of our meeting. Our next meeting date is Monday, June 21st. And if there are no urgent matters that need to be brought up, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. So thank you for all of you who came and participated, and especially to those of you who presented. Thank you very much. And we look forward to, more exciting projects like this. That's a great project. Thank you. All right. Good night, y'all. See you next month.
Night all.
Good night, everyone.
Night, everybody.